On November 8th, Karen left the hospital and announced that she was returning to California. On Thursday, February 3rd, 1983, Karen went to her parents' home. Mom, Dad, and Karen went to Bob's Big Boy for dinner. Karen ate a shrimp salad, plus she stopped for a taco on the way home. Agnes was delighted. At 9 p.m., she spoke to a friend on the phone and later talked to Phil Ramone. Then, sometime around 10:30, she went up to bed. At 8:45 the next morning, Agnes went to the kitchen. The coffee maker had been turned on. Agnes called upstairs twice. There was no answer. Agnes walked upstairs. At the top of the steps, she looked into Karen's room. The closet door was open. Agnes rushed into the room. Karen was lying face down on the floor. Agnes screamed for Harold, and he called 911. Firemen led by Captain Paul Cook were the first on the scene.
We moved Karen quickly to the bedroom and started CPR, which is cardiopulmonary resuscitation, which is basic life support, by resuscitating her and doing chest compressions to keep the blood circulating.
Karen was carried to an ambulance. Richard, awoken by his mother, had rushed to the house. Then, with his parents, followed the ambulance to the hospital. 20 minutes later, a doctor told them the grim news. Karen was dead. She was 32 years old. Coming up, an outpouring of grief.
Stunned when she died. Stunned. And stunned at the funeral. I mean, I remember that very vividly.
After a failed marriage and a valiant battle with anorexia nervosa, Karen Carpenter's heart gave out, and she was lost to the world. News of Karen's death spread quickly, shocking both fans and friends.
I was at my mother's house, staying for a little visit in Connecticut, and I heard it on the radio. And I was just shocked.
I talked to Richard when I called California. I talked to Richard and asked to speak to Agnes. He says, Teresa, she can't come to the phone. She's not up to talking. She just can't. And so I talked to him for a few minutes, and of course he broke down. And I didn't carry on any more conversation. I just said goodbye again. We'll be thinking of him.
I was surprised, but I wasn't surprised. I was surprised only because she seemed so determined to get well, and she seemed to be on the road to recovery. And then what I was told that happened is, because of all those years of abuse to her body, that her heart just gave out.
The night before she died, I went to see, with a friend of mine from college, a Dionne Warwick concert, where Dionne, in the show, did Yesterday Once More. And so I kind of punched my friend, who I hadn't seen in years at that point, and said, now, who did this? And he said, yes, the Carpenters, and because he had known that I was a big fan in college. And the next morning at 10 o'clock or so, 11 o'clock, he called me at work and said, did you hear that Karen Carpenter died? And since we had just talked about her the night before, I thought he was joking. I thought it was certainly a tacky joke, and I couldn't imagine that he would do that, but that was my first thought. I mean, how could it possibly be true?
Stunned when she died. Stunned. And stunned at the funeral. I mean, I remember that very vividly.
On February 8th, 1983, 1,000 people attended Karen's funeral at the Downey Methodist Church. Many were still dumbstruck by the news.
I didn't function for the rest of the day because I had just seen her not too long ago. And I had seen her at A&M. I just, you know, I just couldn't come to terms with it.
It wasn't long before the world knew what had taken Karen's life. For the first time, anorexia had a face.
Karen was a casualty, and she was the person who, because of her popularity and because of her talent and fame, she was someone who caused the rest of the world to sit up and take notice that this anorexia thing was something serious and was not something to be taken lightly.
The one good thing that came out of her death is that I'm sure thousands of lives have been saved, where mothers and fathers were able to say, don't let, you know, this happen to you.
There's nothing that's going to bring her back, whether we ever find out what causes anorexia nervosa or not, and I don't think in my lifetime they're going to find out what causes it. I just had to come to grips with it and work with her legacy.
And what a legacy it is.
You turn on a radio station and you hear a Carpenter's record, I don't care who you are, you know that voice.
Karen, just clean, clear, like a flag flying over the song and the record. Unwavering, just near perfect.
Strictly in the musical sense, she has left a very strong imprint. And that's damn good in your life. I mean, that's really good. To come out of and have to leave and not have a statue in the park named after you, you know, I think for considering all the musical talents that's been around, she has a very strong place and will always have it. It won't go away.
It certainly hasn't. Modern bands like Sonic Youth worked on the '94 tribute album, If I Were a Carpenter.
I mean, I didn't accept the Carpenters as something that I could identify with or wanted, but at the same time, you knew that the music they were making was really affecting, just because of Karen's vocals especially. You know, and the way Richard was producing the music also, it was just really beautiful. I mean, he was like layering.
Carpenter fans span the globe. The Japanese, in particular, are still Karen crazy.
Every sing-a-ling-a-ling that they're starting to sing so fine. Look at the two of us, strangers in many ways.
Her memory lives on through her music and through the vivid memories of her friends and colleagues.
She's left us an example of what can be done when you have talent and an instrument that is exceptional, and an attitude also that was special. She was a good person.
I remember her first as a friend, and a very caring friend and a very nurturing friend. And her voice and her music will ring on, forever. She, I just thought she had one of the most beautiful angelic voices in the world, and I just know right now she's up there with God and He's enjoying it, you know, because I'm sure she's singing even up there.
She was a dynamite lady. She really was. Very unassuming, you know, she had this magical gift that she used beautifully and gave so much joy and happiness through that. And, you know, she was just a real person. You know, the same kind of troubles we all have. And she wasn't pretentious or anything. She was just real.